Who Will Love Me Now is quite an intense foster care memoir from Maggie Hartley. This was released originally in 2017. I would have read it for the first time in about 2019, and I've recently reread it. And actually, this is one where I remembered quite a lot about it. I didn't remember everything, but I remembered a good amount, and that's because it's really powerful. It's also really educational about what you perhaps can do, whether you're looking after a child in a similar situation, or indeed if you yourself are going through similar emotions. I won't give any spoilers for what happens. At least for the most part. If I decide to discuss anything with spoilers, I'll give a spoiler warning. Maggie is fostering a 10-year-old girl called Kirsty. And Kirsty was neglected by her mother when she was a tiny baby. So she's been in foster care most of her life. And she's been with the same foster family. But then her foster family decide that actually they can't look after her anymore. Her foster mother has a pretty bad health scare, and Kirsty is very difficult. She has been spoiled from day one because of course she was a child who'd been neglected. She was a foster child. The parents tried to overcompensate for that by giving her everything she wanted, and it's made her very spoiled, very demanding, very, very difficult. And now she's faced with this tremendous rejection. And obviously, Maggie has to be very careful with what she tells Kirsty. She can't be blunt and say, well, your foster parents don't want you because you're impossible and you've given your foster mother a health scare, because that would be horrendous. So they basically tell her that her foster parents just are not able to give her the care that she needs. But that's not enough for Kirsty, and Kirsty faces this severe rejection, and her behaviour is usually off the walls. It's usually horrendously bad, and she does a lot of physical destruction to property around her. But also, there are times when she's just sobbing, and it's really emotional, and it's so unclear what's going to happen to her, because when a child is about the age of 10 or older, they're deemed not really suitable for adoption anymore because most people don't want to adopt an older child. And obviously, it's going to be difficult to find any foster family who want to adopt her long term when she's got such challenging behaviors. What on earth are they going to do? It seems like the school might be rejecting her. Can Maggie convince the school to keep her for longer, or is that going to be another rejection she faces? These are all things that the memoir hints at, but I'm not going to say exactly what happens with it, at least not for now. And there was also one moment that's actually kind of blood curdling, and I won't say which moment it is, but you'll know exactly which bit I mean. And it's such an intense read, but it's also, I think, very relatable if you've ever felt this level of rejection. I think Kirsty's emotions, while her outbursts are not acceptable, they are understandable. And if you've ever experienced this level of rejection, I think it's very easy to understand why she's feeling the way she does and why she's lashing out at the world. And Maggie seems at a bit of a loss, but she does try various different things to help Kirsty to work her way through these emotions and to understand why she's feeling the way she is, and to kind of to try and restore Kirsty's sense of self-worth, because understandably with that much rejection, she hates herself and thinks that everybody hates her and it's all her fault. And it's kind of difficult because on the one hand, yeah, it is all her fault in the moment, but it's, for example, her behavior is the way it is because of the way her foster parents raised her. So it's, in the big picture, it's not her fault. And it's really difficult to deal with, but Maggie does give some pretty great tricks to try and help work through it. So if you're going through something similar, either with a child or with your own emotions, there are things that you might be able to try, and it might actually be really helpful. And I think that that makes this book so valuable, because obviously it's a compelling read, very fascinating, a lot of intense emotions, but it's also really useful. And I think there are some steps in this that people can try on their own, or with the help of somebody else, and I think it could be really beneficial. I absolutely recommend this for anybody who has read any Maggie Hartley books, or just interested in foster care memoirs in general, but particularly if you are either looking after a child who's going through similar things, or you yourself have these strong emotional responses to this fear of rejection. It's Absolutely worth reading. I think it could be really beneficial and really, really helpful. And I really enjoyed it for the right reasons, but there were times when it was difficult to read because of how powerful it is. Definitely a really strong, generally well written book, and one that, even though I could remember quite a lot about it, I really enjoyed reading for the second time. And if I ever read it a third time, I'm pretty sure I'll enjoy it then as well.